Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to CoachX Live with the Institute of Coaching. My name is Jeffery Hull. I'm the Executive Director of the Institute of Coaching, and I want to welcome you from around the world. We always love to see folks coming in from unbelievably number of places around the world, whether it's good evening or good morning. Please say hello in the comment section. And I want to welcome my good friend, Rick Rudolph, who is here all the way from Madrid, where he is hard at work at what he does, and he's going to share with us tonight. So Rick is someone that I've been trying to get on the show for a long time. So I'm very happy that we finally nailed his calendar down and have him with us tonight. Rick is someone who works in the graduate education space. He does digital. I'll give you a little bit of his background, but he does digital work, video work, interview work with students, deans, professors, and basically the educators of business schools and other schools all over the world. So truly a global perspective on the education space. And the reason that I was hoping to get Rick to join us is because coaching has become almost ubiquitous, at least at business schools and in many graduate schools. And Rick has a sort of a unique lens on the education landscape these days as someone who is interviewing students, talking to professors. And we all know that along with just about everywhere else in the industries that we all deal with, there's a lot of disruption going on with AI, with changes in the workplace, coming out of what we thought was going to be the last disruption, the pandemic a few years ago, and now we're into the next one. So I wanted to have someone like Rick come and share with us what he's seeing on campuses. What are the students looking for as they develop their careers, as they choose to go to graduate school, as they think about how to succeed in a world where AI may, and in fact, very likely will have a huge impact on us all. So I want to welcome you, Rick.
Thank you, Jeff.
I am super excited to have you here. And we're seeing folks come in our comments from Ohio, Boulder, London. Hi. Brooklyn, oh my God, Lagos, Nigeria. There you go, right? So welcome everyone. Let me just give you a quick overview of my friend Rick's background. He is the founder and managing director of a company based in the Netherlands called Edunakho. It's an education media company, as I mentioned. His focus is on helping business and graduate schools connect students through authentic storytelling and digital content. His belief is that true success in education starts with student success, and he has built this company around a deep understanding of student needs, user behavior. So he uses the insights from the students to help the schools reach and engage the next generation in meaningful, relevant ways. And I think that that's, a beautiful summary of what we're going to talk about today, which is that Rick has kind of a unique lens, talking to students, talking to deans, talking to professors globally. He's in Madrid right now. He's going to Mexico tomorrow, he told me. So Rick, let's start. But before we jump into that, I think people would love to hear a little bit about how you came to start this company and just the whole way that you entered into this incredible, emerging, changing landscape of education.
Thanks for that incredible introduction, Jeff. Appreciate it. I sound much smarter than I am, I think. So I was the marketing director of a Dutch university, Erasmus University, particularly MBA programs for this institution. So I then was headhunted to start or help start a private finance school. So I worked with both schools that are very renowned, but also for schools that was very much in the beginning of their journeys. And this school particularly didn't necessarily have a name that was easy to pronounce. People didn't know where that was. It wasn't accredited. So I used the power of video to start explaining who we are and the impact that this degree could have on these students, and particularly in their careers post-graduation. This was early 2010s, and then I wanted to utilize video a little bit more. I saw social media was changing and the way that people consumed video, but I also realized that higher education was lacking a little bit when it came to introducing video as part of their marketing mix. So I basically decided to create a channel, a platform that functions like YouTube, but it's only for MBAs and it's only for postgraduate specialized business masters. So I would say I'm an accidental entrepreneur because I didn't intend this platform to grow and to eventually turn into my enterprise today. But many years later, 12 years later, I think, after we launched in 2014, we are serving around 600 business schools around the world. We have now 4 platforms. So we are not only doing content marketing, a lot of video production, but also helping students connect with the institutions directly. So it became a full service business in graduate management education.
I mean, when you think about going from one school that you helped get on the map to 600 schools around the world, that's quite a journey. And I know that for myself, having watched some of the videos, and you folks can find him on MBA, is it MBA Tube? Is that what?
Yeah, MBA Tube and MBA grad schools.
Yeah.
Master,
I mean, one of the things that I
schools.
loved was watching some of the videos of you interviewing some of the students. And it made me think about the fact that as coaches, you know, many of us get involved with either coaching MBAs or coaching people that have gone back for an executive MBA, and they're, you know, next generation coming up in leadership. And that whole landscape is changing so rapidly. And that's what I really wanted to have you give us some insights into how you're seeing the evolution. What has changed? What are some of the students, you know, what are they passionate about these days? What are they most fearful about? What, as you and I talked a few minutes ago about how MBAs used to be just a pathway to Wall Street or something like that. And so much of that has changed. And so coaching these folks that want to be leaders early in their careers, they want to get started, they want to move. That's why they go back to graduate school. What are you seeing? What are some of the things that are important to them these days?
Yeah, I mean, you said it so well in the beginning that we thought that COVID was a big game changer, and then now AI is there as well. But I can tell you that with all of these changes, graduate management education is also evolving. There was times when the MBA as a degree was questioned whether it still had its value or not. But it keeps evolving with the time, and it keeps adding value. A lot has changed since COVID, and so has schools. The way that, you know, students, executives are looking for programs. In the past, hybrid was the exception and not necessarily a general option. So flexibility in terms of how education is presented has become the norm. So online is not a lesser form of education. A lot of changes has taken place in terms of flexibility, in terms of the length of a program as well. So micro-credential education has taken a front seat, so to speak, where lifelong learning, for example, was a catchphrase. Now it's truly prevalent where, you know, you don't have to go back to school. It is something that you can incorporate into your life. So those type of credential education, short programs, open enrollment programs, where it focuses specifically on specific industries, specific functional areas, etc., is really now becoming much more popular, even for a younger generation. So it's not just executive education. You also see how faculty has approached education differently. I mean, they have to embrace AI in the classroom, but at the same time, they are becoming much more AI fluent themselves because they have these young audiences in front of them. So you also see that those, in my opinion, and at least in the professors and the deans that I'm speaking to, I see that it's a much younger generation because the professors that were, I don't want to insult anybody, but a one-trick pony where the same lecture is being repeated year after year and course content is not updated, and they cannot translate that to online lectures in more digestible format. They had to make way for more fluent faculty in this space as well. You do see that the curriculums have changed as well. So it's far more practical than in the past. Of course, universities will always be research-led, but you can see that universities are taking a much more, almost a consultative approach to business education, where they have to work on practical cases rather than submitting assignments and papers. So the curriculum has adapted accordingly as well, even for courses like corporate finance and accounting. And you also see that students' mobility is back. So the way that students are traveling, but they also want to make choices of what they want to do. So it's just customizing your education experience is really what is happening, so that you can build your own education experience. A good example is EDEC Business School in France, who I recently interviewed, and we even traveled with them to many places like Cameroon and Hawaii, where we followed some of their students doing a volunteership. So they have an option to either, for example, do a research project, they can do a company internship, or they can go and do a volunteership, where they literally don't do anything academic, but they work, for example, with the French government, France Volontaire, and they go and place these students in places where there's been hardship, or for example, in Hawaii after the fires in Lahaina. So they go and do the cleanup afterwards, and they live with the community there. And then they come back and they have to tell how this has impacted them and how they view the world differently. So there's so many options that is currently offered to students, whether you're a Gen Zer, whether you're a Gen X like us. I mean, the options are so wide and so prevalent right now that it's not just an education program that schools are offering you and say, this is the education program that we have, do you want it? But it's really a kind of a consultative approach where we are able to guide you in this way. How can we tailor this program to better fit your needs and ambitions?
Yeah, it's fascinating because I think about the type of classroom that creates, right? So you have these incredible demographic integration, people probably all different ages coming together in education.
Yeah.
You have globalized classes where people from all over the world coming together. And on the one hand, that hopefully has a really positive impact on the students in terms of being open and receptive to different cultures and different ideas and different ways of learning. I wonder what you're seeing and how they view leadership. I mean, many of the coaches that are watching us right now, and if you have a question for Rick, please go ahead and put it in comments. We'll see if we can't grab one too. But if you're thinking about coaching up and coming leaders, and they're coming out of these really customized, really multicultural, global kind of education experiences, their aspirations for leadership may be different. And I'm curious what you're seeing in terms of what the expectations are.
So it's twofold. On the one hand, leadership is really very closely linked to personal development and identifying and becoming more self-aware. So the coaches and the career services are really focused on this type of development. So they are not trying to make a specific type of leader. They're really nurturing skills and personality and making sure that there's authentic, service-minded leaders in the world. But at the same time, it's quite interesting if you look at what Gen Z is looking for in leadership. They are looking for those authentic leaders. They're looking for leaders that are able to adapt quickly, that can create a safe space for them. Those that have influence in the organization and on their careers. They are not willing to just accept a boss, a manager, a leader to
Right.
tell them what to do. They need to understand why they have to do what they are asked to do. And they're very mindful of the ability of that leader to create a safe space. So they do not tolerate a toxic work environment. And that all stems from, creating leaders that are authentic, that are mindful, that are service-minded. And it's not just cookie cutter leadership courses. It's really very intense, customized approaches to uncovering the potential that a candidate or a student have in terms of their leadership potential.
And they also have access to coaching earlier in their careers.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is something that's kind of embedded throughout the curriculum now. So it's not a standalone option. It is the moment you walk into a business school, it's almost a given now that career coaching, and leadership coaching and career services in general will start on day one. And there's so many beautiful stories on how different career centers approach leadership at these business schools. We recently made a video for Erasmus University where they wrote notes to themselves in the beginning on the very first day, and they were able at a leadership event at the end of the year. We filmed them as they opened and read those letters back to themselves and recorded these beautiful, authentic responses to the letters that they wrote to themselves. And one student in particularly really caught me as he thought leadership looked like this, but now he can look in the mirror and realize that no, leadership looks like this. Wow. So it's very interesting how the schools are guiding these students throughout the whole process, and that they do that, of course, with skill development, with exposure is very important. It's like putting them in scenarios that they otherwise would have not been exposed to in the past. Or if they've stayed in their businesses, if they're a full-time student, but also just exposure in terms of getting an insight into their fellow participants' lives in different industries, in different countries, in different contexts.
I'm going to date myself with this next question, but I remember when I was in business school and there was this big gap between the professor and the students, right? I mean, we basically had to treat the professors like gods. Yeah. They would walk in the room and you'd get quiet. And, I didn't go to Harvard, but I had the Harvard style in the business school that I was in Maryland. And, it was cases and you had to present, and basically the professor would come in and basically kind of sort of tear you to shreds. And that was supposed to be a good thing. I'm just curious, a lot of the professors are still baby boomers and they're still running the world for good or ill. Has that dynamic evolved? Because you interact with the dean
tremendously.
On the other. Yeah, so let's talk about that.
Tremendously. You remind me of a story that my dad told me. He's a civil engineer and he once had to go and see his professor. And of course, he suited up, but he didn't wear a tie. And he had a conversation with the professor. And just before he left, he said, "Mr. Rudolph, if you ever come to see me again and you don't wear a tie, I will not welcome you into my office." And I remember him telling me the story and just, thinking to myself, well, things have really changed. Well, things have changed again. It's very flat. There's no hierarchy really. I mean, obviously there's respect, but it's almost like when you look at some of these TikToks and content that the social media team of a company is producing. They work so closely with the CEO of a company in creating content that gets more eyeballs on the company. And they tend to get the CEO to do things that I'm like, I cannot believe the CEO did it to get clout, but it is working. So that the gap has definitely shrunk to almost nothing. It can be challenging. I mean, experiencing that in my own company as well. But it makes you humble. It makes you think, and it's. I like to be challenged in that way because you can't just accept that you have to have respect, or that you have that authority if you can't back it up. And I think that's the same with professors now. They have all of these AI tools in the classroom. If they don't have the knowledge, if they're not prepared, if they are just going to present students with, textbooks or case studies to read, when everything else is at the tip of their fingertips, if that's the way you say it, then, there's not going to be respect. So there is respect for those that deserve the respect, and you'll see that.
And the learning really kind of goes two ways. I know one of the things that's
Correct.
becoming common is what's called reverse mentoring, where the senior executives that are awake to the fact that the next generation is very tech savvy, very instantaneously in communication, and then they can learn from each other. And if you can leverage that, which is what it sounds like the really good professors are doing, then it can become really a dialogical learning experience.
Absolutely. A lot of the classrooms now.
There's a great question coming in from Rebecca, and she says it better than I can. So she says, what are the core concepts that motivate behaviors in the Gen Z generation? What are their values these days?
Ooh, good one. Their values is a bit difficult to assess because they are not all the same naturally.
Yeah, that's true.
But I can maybe tap a little bit into what they are looking for, maybe specifically from you coaches. So they are absolutely looking for career direction. They all still have that imposter syndrome. They don't know where to start. That hasn't changed. So writing that roadmap is definitely something that they need. And I hope I'm answering your question, by the way. You might have to rephrase the question for me to pinpoint deeper onto the values. But I also know that they are really keen on skill development as well. So they miss the communication skills, the collaboration skills, the decision-making skills. They really struggle with professional identity. So crafting a story, and we all know today that identity in this day and age is super, super important for them, and being authentic in the way that they show up. And of course, it's the confidence. I think that they are really looking for somebody that can support them in confidence. We know that they are a generation that is scared of picking up a telephone. They find answers at the tip of their fingers if they have a laptop in front of them, but not in a room full of people. So that confidence in acting spontaneously in a room, that is something that they need help with.
I think you're pointing to one of the things that I'm curious, your perspective on whether it's real or whether it's a myth, which is that Gen Z in particular, their digital native, is no longer comfortable with relational communication. Like, oh, they don't want to use the phone, they only want to text. And then, so there may be some truth to that, but then at the same time, the paradox is that all the career opportunities in today's world, especially with AI coming in like a tsunami, are going to be relational oriented. Like human communication, person to person or group to person or whatever, is going to become even more crucial.
Absolutely.
So are you seeing them recognize that and work on it? I mean, that's an area for coaching too, I would think.
I think so. I think that, if they are trying to solve a problem and they can't find the problem within 20 seconds themselves, they turn to digital aid like AI. It's true, right? I think we're starting to do it as well. Yeah. But what is missing is, the human interaction, how to read a room, how to react to a human response in a good way. So that is a space where coaches can never be replaced, right? I think you and I, some days ago when we decided what we're going to speak about, we talked about the pros and cons of potential AI coaching. And would that replace you guys, for example? And needless to say, AI coaching is there, and it's going to grow, and it's going to become better. And a lot of coaches are probably thinking, how is it going to affect my business and the way that I what I'm offering? Should I also participate? It will always be faster. It will be cheaper. It will be lower pressure for people to participate and use these AI tools, but they will still remain to be shallow. There's still a good tool and a bad tool. And in the business education space, the schools that are already embracing this, they are seeing that the same advice is given to the same students or to different students, and it's not necessarily customizing responses. Right. So if you wanted to use it for quick practice and to create structure, that's great. But I think if you want a deeper, real understanding of politics and human behavior and real world experiences, then the human interaction, the human coach is irreplaceable.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm curious around how the students are actually feeling with regard to the so-called tsunami of AI. And James is asking a question, and I think I can summarize what he's getting at here, which is, do you find that when you go out and talk to students and they're thinking about taking a business school step or something, are they fearful about what's happening with AI, or are they welcoming? Are they embracing? They see it as creating new worlds of opportunity for them, or are they scared?
Yeah.
What's the tone that you're
surprisingly, the students that I interviewed, and it kind of surprised me a little bit, was that AI for them it's a co-pilot. It's a given. It is a baseline for any job that they're going to do. So regardless of what career path they're going to end up in, they probably are studying now and learning things that in 5 years from now, there's not even going to be a job for it. Right. So they are seeing AI as not separate from their studies. They see technology as part of business, part of the discipline that they studied. It's not separate anymore. You're not a business professional or a tech expert. It's completely intertwined. The one doesn't exist without the other. And that's also how the business schools are trying to integrate AI into every curriculum. And the way that they are going to be evaluated in how they use the tools, how they prompt, all of these things are going to become much more important. So they are not scared of it. They're embracing it way more than us. I think we are scared of it, as older generations.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think the fact that you describe it as an integration, it's almost become, it's ubiquitous, it's happening, it's going to be, the wave is, we're part of it. It's like surfing the wave rather than running away.
Imagine you grew up with mobile technology. You know, we were in a time when there was no internet, there were no mobile phone, there were no email, there were no internet. So they were born into this, and for them, it's just part of their DNA.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting. So we're going to run out of time, as we always do, but fascinating conversation. I'm so glad you're here. And I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oof.
Little it's an easy one. No, but just a little thought in terms of, if you were a coach wanting to work with these up and coming next generation leaders, what advice would you give the coaches that want to stay in a position where they can really add value to this generation?
Very difficult. It's really your field, but I would say the best coaches are able to connect. So if you are able to connect with the current fears that they have and help them understand that regardless of what time of or generation they are in, what industry that they're going to work in, what family situation they find themselves in, that they are valid, that they are heard, that they are seen, that's when you're going to be successful as a coach. So it's really that empathy that AI will never replace. Sometimes they just need to hear it out loud from their own mouths. And so creating that space for them to be authentic, being real, being honest within a safe space that you've created, I guess, is ultimately what's going to make you the best coach possible.
Beautifully said. I mean, I think that what you're pointing to is a philosophy that I've always carried with me throughout my entire coaching career, which is it's not about what you do or what you ask or how schooled you are in the lexicon of coaching. It's how you be with the person, and the relational skills, the empathy, the listening, the actually being in it as a partner, right? Yeah. And if we can role model that for the students, for the up and coming generation, if we can make them feel safe to just allow themselves to fully express their humanity, then they're going to blossom.
Absolutely. And maybe just one more thing that jumped to mind is we have to reserve judgment as well. I know I'm very judgy and judgmental on this generation because I think we had it harder, etc. But they have it hard too, right? The age that they are raised in and born into, they've got their own set of challenges. And so you have to be super empathetic and go and understand why it's so tough for where they currently find themselves, without judgment. And I know that that's how I have developed better relationships with my Gen Z employees, is by trying to be super non-judgmental. And it's, you know me, I can be judgy, but it's
we all can.
Yeah, but it's trying to understand and putting things in context and just trying to see where they come from.
Beautifully said. Well, listen, we have gone over, and I want to thank everyone for sticking with us. And thank you so much, Rick, for your perspective. I mean, it's not every day that we get to talk to someone who's flying all over the world, talking to all the business schools, business students. And I think it's incredibly valuable for coaches to be aware of what the landscape looks like. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time.
Business schools need coaches.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll all be continuing to be employed regardless of what happens with AI.
Absolutely.
So thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time. All the best in your travels, Rick. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks for having me. Take care.